Welcome to Girl Meets Green. My name's Norma, your host or whatever. We're back. Love Island season USA. Love Island USA season 7, episode 25, I believe. I am over it. And yet I have to keep watching now because I just have to see how it ends. But I'm just over absolutely everyone here. Jumping right in, we start off, I'm just gonna kind of highlight moments of the episode, okay? So we have Taylor talking about Alondria, or his interaction with Alondria when it was him and Clark's turn, and how he didn't go too hard out of respect for Clark. He does tell Alondria that he wanted to kiss her, but out of respect for Clark, he didn't. And she's like, I saw that. And I'm just like, girl, please stand up. Like, you guys, he does not want her. And I'm not sure why he keeps essentially leading her on. I don't think he's doing it intentionally. I don't think it's a malicious thing, or I think he genuinely doesn't realize what he's doing. But you don't like her. He's saying things like, no one's ever made me feel the way she does. Da-da-da. What more than that do you need? And the fact that Alondria still sits throughout this episode continuously on multiple occasions to be like, I'm still gonna explore my connection with Taylor, but I'm not gonna focus on that connection, or I'm not gonna give all my energy to that connection. It's like, girl, there's no connection. There's no connection. Please let go. Please let go. It's so bad. And then later on in the episode, Taylor ends up talking to Clark, and Clark is kind of asking him about did you think she was doing too much? Where are you at in that connection, et cetera, et cetera. And he does say he's still exploring Alondria. He didn't tell her about wanting to kiss her, but I mean, he did say he was respectful of Clark. So I guess you don't have to be I wanted to kiss her, but I was respecting you. That's probably not all necessary. And we see a conversation with the Casa boys of Brian talking about him and Andreina's connection. Well, he talks about wanting to get to know Jaden. And then he does mention that him and Andreina's conversations are boring. I feel like everybody ran with that. I was like, he got it boring. And he's saying their conversations. So while it's kind of like a by association thing, him saying that by association, she's boring, it could literally just be that they don't connect. You know what I'm saying? Neither of them might be boring, and it's just that's to each other, they're not interested in the conversation they're having. Does that make sense? I wouldn't have a conversation about the history of Cuba. My cousin would. I wouldn't say my cousin's boring. I would just say I would get bored with a conversation about Cuba. You feel me? Does that make sense? But anywho, me trying to save Brian's little butt. But apparently he's interested in exploring Jaden, so that's cute. Zak and Amaya are unfortunately falling apart, and it makes me kind of sad, but I like that she, this is weird, but I do like the way it's happening, where it's not he's trashing her, or it's one-sided and she doesn't think anything's wrong, and it's she's seeing things that are wrong, and she's like, it makes me want to explore. So it's interesting. And then we do see her talking to the Casa boys about, her not being sure of his intentions, because he hasn't pulled her for a chat, or really any other of the girls. She mostly sees him talking to the guys, so she's kind of what are his intentions? What's he doing here? Elon runs and tells Zak what she said, and yeah, but so the part I'm originally talking about, what I just said happens later on in the episode, but what I was originally talking about was Amaya saying oh, he could be more of a gentleman, and then Zak saying how the relationship's beginning to sour, which again, quite interesting. But what I also find interesting, because Elon does end up pulling Amaya for a chat, and they talk a bit, whatever to me. I wanted Zak and Amaya, so I was not listening. I was irritated. But he does pull her for a chat, which is interesting, because him and Zak are boys. And I'm curious if he told Zak he was going to do that, or if he just did it. And we're talking about the whole Huda situation, because it comes back in this episode. Obviously, she tries to talk to Shelly. Shelly doesn't want to talk to her about it. Now, listen, my opinion is that it was just a challenge, and Shelly's doing a bit too much. But that's just my opinion based on what we're seeing. Some theories, because we don't know past what we're seeing. People were saying you can see clearly where they cut it, because Huda was turning around to put her butt near his face, or another part on his face. But even with that, if you're asking me, my opinion, even if she was doing a bit much in the sense of what she was doing, it is still part of the challenge. If the whole the challenge is literally the heart rate challenge. So obviously in her head, I'm going to do everything to raise the heart rate. It's just logical. I'm just saying. But yeah, so that's just my opinion. However, I can see both sides. I can follow all theories. With Shelly's side, it feels like there might be more to it than what we are seeing on screen, because the level of which she's upset about it, to me, is not proportionate. Like, it just doesn't fully make sense. You know, like, she could feel like, oh, she did a lot in that challenge, and it could have just been like, hey, you did a lot in that challenge, I just want you to know that really bothered me. And Huda kind of being like, we'll talk about Huda's side, but, you know, kind of just being like, hey, that really bothered me, and being able to move on. The fact that she's harping on it as hard as she is, she even mentioned, you know, I woke up and I still feel that way. To me, it's like there's got to be more to it. Like, either she was already irritated with Huda as who she is, or Huda had done other things. I don't know. Something is strange there because of how disproportionate her feelings about that were. So there could be more to it. So that's how I look at it on her end. So it's like, maybe if there is more, then I would understand where she's coming from. But if there's not, though, and if there is, either way, I feel like it doesn't warrant, I don't know. Well, if there's more, obviously it would warrant it. But what we're seeing doesn't warrant her reaction, in my opinion. That's just what I think. Now, Huda. I don't like her, and I don't not like her in this moment. I couldn't stand her for a really long time. Now it's like, all right, she's just a human. But I think where she went wrong. Okay, there are people who struggle to take accountability because it means accepting things that you don't believe are true about you and might still not be true. But like, right, like she's like, am I a bad person? When she cries to Alondria, to Chris, she's like, I'm not a bad person, I'm not a bad person. I think there are people like Huda, where taking accountability of one action would like confirm if they did feel like they're a bad person, or if they hear that a lot about them, right? If there are people in their lives who say they're a bad person, and these moments happen that solidify that, you're gonna go against it, right? So you're not gonna take accountability. So where she's like, I was just doing the challenge, I don't understand, right? It's like burying my head in the sand. I don't get it, I don't know, and so I'm not a bad person. Whereas I think that all she really had to do was like, so I respect her. She did go to Shelly to try to talk to her. Shelly let her pull her aside, but then she was like, I don't want to talk about this right now. I think that hurt Huda's ego, and so now she's like, okay, well, I'm just not going to talk to her. She's not interested in talking to me. Which Shelly also made clear, so I feel like that's where it's kind of tough, because I'm like, Huda should have anyways, just like Huda coulda, shoulda, the next day gone to Shelly and just been like, hey, I just want to apologize. Like, I was just doing the challenge. I genuinely do not like him. It was literally just me doing the challenge. I see now how I did a little too much. I see how it's affecting you. I want to apologize for what was done moving forward. Like, now I know if there's, you know, anything more you want to talk about limits, we could talk about it. I will refrain from interactions with Ace. I value our friendship and move forward. And so that's where I feel like Huda went wrong, or what she could have done differently. However, judging by how Shelly is being, I don't think it would have been well received. She doesn't seem interested in having a conversation with Huda or hearing her out. She's like, even if she apologizes, like, we could be cordial. And I'm just like, it's too much. So that's where I'm like, okay, either other things happen that we can't see, or Shelly's just being extra. What I also take issue with this, and I can have, this discussion is gonna get long about this, but what I also take issue with this is that other people are doing similar things, if not worse, and we are not reacting in the same way. Nick and Sierra are coupled up. Alondria is one of Sierra's best friends here, right? Same thing Shelly's saying about Huda. I consider you best friend, blah, 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 all that stuff. Alondria got paired with Nick. Nowhere on that note did it say you need to make this look real. You need to actually explore this. We expect a kiss. Like, it literally was just like, you could pair up, right? You could pair up as a friendship. Like, which is what I thought they would do. Like, you would just pair up until everybody got back together, and then you would take your partners back, or Alondria would figure it out from there, or something. Nick hit with the whole, like, most beautiful woman. Da-da-da-da-da-da. They make out. Like, it's like, and so this is where I'm kind of like, okay, Huda cannot do what she did, but Alondria can explore with one of her best friends, like the person she knows her best friend wants. Because all of us and them are aware Sierra wants to close this off. That's been made pretty clear. She's not going to say it, but she wants that. That's been made clear. Also, Alondria was with Sierra when she cried at Casa Amor because she was overwhelmed, because she wanted to be with Nick, because she wished she could be with Nick. And then she went and like started to attempt a connection with him. And so like, oh, that's fine and dandy only because they both claim to not be interested in each other in that way. But Huda is not interested in Ace in that way, and it's still an issue. You get what, like, that's where it's kind of like, no, they're not the same exact things, but in an environment like that, they are very similar things. And so you can't, like, to react to Huda being like, how dare she? Oh my God, no, don't talk to her anymore. I'm really pissed off about that. But then you can look at Alondria and be like, yeah, totally cool, totally fine, right? Like, Sierra's cool with it. Shelly's cool with it. But Sierra's sitting here with Shelly being her little yes man. Like, yeah, like, no, I would be, it's like, please, no. Ladies, if there's a piece of advice I could give you, if you're new to friendships, like, do not surround yourself with people who are just going to be like, yes, girl, yep, agree, yes. No, literally, they're tripping. It's like, that's warranted in situations, but also not. Like, we're also not going to just yes men our friends to death. No, that's just me, though, once again. My opinion. Next up, we have Nick being super mad at Elin, which makes no fucking sense. Elin does not know you. You are not friends. He was exploring his connection with Sierra, who he was connected with Casa Amor. What are you talking about? How dare he do that? She's exploring him too. You wanted to keep this open. She kept it open. They were exploring. He's not out of pocket, especially when we take into account Sierra never, like, afterwards said to him, like, hey, this is done. He gave her the pancake. She was like, thank you so much. That's so sweet, right? That would have been an opportunity. She could have gone and had a conversation with him to say, hey, honestly, I'm just waiting for Nick to close this off. I don't want to waste your time, right? Like, which you should have, because obviously, judging by where we're at right now, you kind of wasted his time a little bit. Even if it was just a day. The days are crucial out here, okay? Huda goes to Chris and she's emotional. She's crying about the whole situation with Shelly. He's kind of like, oh, just apologize to her. But like, if she ain't trying to hear you, then like, you know, that says more about her, blah, blah, blah. A lot of people say that Huda weaponizes her tears and it's manipulative. I think it may be unintentionally manipulative. I think she's just emotional, and Chris is someone she feels close to. You know what I mean? Like, people you feel close to, you're going to share your sadness with, right? Like, if I'm upset and sad right now, I'm going to go talk to my sister or my mom or whoever, you know, call my friends. Like, that's just that. So I don't think it necessarily is like, oh, she's being manipulative, like she's trying to get him to. I think she was just emotional, and obviously with most of the girls cutting her off, like, she's going to be inclined to go to the person she's partnered with, you know? It's like in real life. If you have a boyfriend and your friends don't want to hear you talk about a specific situation anymore, you're going to go to your boyfriend. Honestly, most of us would probably go to our boyfriend first, you're right? Like, that's just like that logic, that safe place. And I think that's what, while they weren't boyfriend and girlfriend and they're not necessarily closed off or only focused on each other, that is still a connection in that house that she has that's still good. In terms of Shelly and Chris, since we're on the topic of them, I don't fully understand what she's doing. She's clearly more interested in Ace, right? Because the conversations keep happening with Ace. She's having this argument with Ace back and forth. If she was like fully invested in exploring Chris, I feel like, you know, in a situation where Ace is to her not being to her liking, or they can't convert, right? Wouldn't she go like talk to Chris or be like, you know what? I'm gonna entertain this other connection I have. I think she's just liked him, and so she thinks like, oh, maybe I do need to keep exploring. I think she's invested in Ace, but I don't know, she kind of messing it up. But yeah, I think, again, as we see by the end of this episode, Chris is reaching that point of like, you're clearly not very interested in me. You and Ace got a lot going on, so I'm gonna take a step back. Something I also don't understand about the Shelly situation with Huda and Ace is that she literally says to Ace, like, I'm not mad at you. And she says to everyone that she's not mad at Ace, she's mad at Huda, which makes no sense to me because we've all seen the clips, which maybe that's the problem. Maybe she didn't see that, or she doesn't remember it, or she's not really like thinking about that right now because she's so mad at Huda. But that man was smacking butt, holding her, like he was doing the challenge too. You know what I'm saying? Like again, he was also engaging with her. And so it's like, I mean, if you're going to be mad at one, you got to be mad at the other. And so that just doesn't make sense to me. Also, hate that she's making me agree with Ace because y'all know I don't really like him right now. But I agree with Ace. Once again, like I said earlier, in a setting like this, things that in real life may not be the same thing in this are. So in her saying like, oh, we need to set boundaries about what we should or shouldn't be doing, right? We don't need to kiss all 10 people in the challenge, which it's like, but that's not even your focus. You're focused on what Huda did to him, not the fact that he kissed everyone, because you also kiss everyone, so that doesn't make sense. But I argue with Ace when he's like, you're like setting, he doesn't say it, but like he says it. Like she's setting these boundaries, but then like there's no boundaries for her. So like she's saying what you did with Huda upset me. Let's make that a boundary. He's saying and what you did with Chris upset me. I would like that as a boundary. And she's like, no, because I'm exploring Chris. And it's like, that's where it's tricky. And people are like, well, if he's not closed off, now he wants to be closed off and da-da-da-da-da. And trying to compare it to when he picked Amaya. They were not as close when he picked Amaya. Also, he did deal with her exploring another connection with Austin. Even if it was superficial, that connection was still explored. So it's just like, it's not comparable to how far along they are now and how he's feeling. I am interested in how genuine his feelings are and how much of it is just like a playing the game thing where he feels like, damn it, I saved the wrong girl and she didn't make the moves I wanted. You know what I mean? Like just struggling with that. But either way, it's just like, there's a lot of double standards going on with Shelly right now because like the energy for Huda was not there for Alondria, so it doesn't really make sense to me, like what Alondria did to Sierra. Let's talk about pancakes and flowers, okay? I've seen a lot of discourse of people saying Huda overreacted. I don't think she did. I think that it seems like they've had a few conversations, her and Chris, where like a connection is there and it wasn't just like, oh, she saved him, but we're like gonna explore, or that he's like, oh yeah, I'm stuck on Shelly. So I feel like, well, it seems small, right? Like, oh, 2 pancakes and a flower, but like how hard could it have been to give them both 2 pancakes or 1 and put that little flower in both? You feel what I'm saying? Like, so I think she had a right to be upset. I would be upset too. I love how she brought it up to, she was a little bit too like, yeah, I didn't like that. Yeah, I didn't like it. And it was like, okay, he said sorry. He said he didn't mean it. Like, we can move on. However, I do like that she brought it to his attention because regardless of people think it's worth it if it upset you in the way that it did. And I do like that he was very understanding of like, you know, I could see how that would look that way. I didn't mean it that way, but I could see it, right? So that part, that part was nice. But I don't believe she crashed out too hard or that she was doing too much. I feel like any of us would feel some type of way about that, right? If your like partner brings someone else more than they bring you. The girls are talking about who Alondria can get to know. I think it's Alondria, Shelly, and Sierra, if I'm not mistaken. And they're like, yeah, you could do Zak, Austin, or Brian. And then Shelly's stupid ass talking about, yeah, there's one we're forgetting, Taylor. I still think Taylor. Y'all ain't friends. Y'all ain't real friends. The Villa girls are not real friends. Girl, what? Like, this woman needs to let Taylor go far, far, far away from her, please. Sierra and Nick get sent on a date. It's a little picnic date. They decide to close things off. They have a conversation about Elin upsetting him. And she asks, like, was it an ego thing? Or was it, like, a me thing? Like, about how much you like me? And he's like, it was, I think, more of an overprotective thing. It was ego. It was ego that pissed him off, and it was ego that made him close this relationship off. Elin pulls Amaya for that chat I mentioned earlier. Boring, blah, blah, blah. Don't care. You can tell I'm over all of this because Amaya and Zak were my people. I don't know. Let's see more of Grayson, and then I can just ship Pepe and Grayson. Andreina pulls Pepe for a chat, essentially to let him know, right? Like, I'm into you, what's up? And he basically says, like, I'm going to see my connection with Grayson too. He was like, I don't like that whole muddying, you know, talking to 2 people at once thing because then no one gets the real me. And I love that. I love that. I have to say, like, I don't know, like, that was a really good response because it really is true. When you're like juggling more than one person, it's difficult to just be like fully yourself and fully present. So like no one's getting the best of anything there. And so I like that I think he's probably not interested in Andreina. But I did like that it wasn't like oh no, I'm not interested in you. It was more of like I'm going to explore with her first. And then however that goes, if I'm coming back to have a conversation with you, I could do that, right? Like that's the energy it gave me of it's like, I'm not closing off. Like I'm interested in exploring, but like right now, this is the connection I'm exploring, right? I want to explore my connections one at a time. I knew I loved Pepe. I just knew I did. We see Alondria and Zak talk, and it gave nothing to me, if you ask me. It's this weird, trying really hard to seem connected. You know, like Alondria is like, shit, well, I don't have a couple. I got to come up with a couple. I was with Zak earlier. We did talk a little bit. And then it felt like everything they were saying was just like trying to connect, right? Trying to be like, yeah, yes, like you, yeah. And like, okay, so see, now it makes sense that we would pair up. You know what I mean? Like, because Zak was giving the same energy. Like, he probably does want to like split up from Amaya as a pair. And so now he's like, nah, I don't like it and I'm upset. It just doesn't feel organic. So like them together will just never hit for me. Oh, Alondria needs to go home. I'm sorry. She seems chill. Although I will say, I don't like how she started treating Huda on behalf of Shelly. It gives, this was never truly my friend, if you're asking me. Because if I'm in a friend group and two friends start fighting, I'm not necessarily without reason going to like start acting differently towards another friend if we were just like a group of friends who all say we get each other equally. You know what I'm saying? And so I didn't like that very much, but that's besides the point. There's no one there that I see her having an actual connection with. That was basically the whole episode. There's a little sneak peek of like all of them putting like letters in a mailbox. I'm assuming some sort of like anonymous people wrote this about you, and seeing how everyone reacts to it. I haven't watched the show, so let me know what it is. We'll see what that's about. Right now, okay, who am I rooting for? Because literally looking back, none of these couples are calling my attention. I like Taylor and Clark, honestly. I feel like they look like a real world couple. Like they would be like in the real world together. Taylor is kind of upsetting me with the leading Alondria on. Like I said, I don't think he's doing it intentionally, but like he's got to cut that off. He does. Because when you're saying things like, I chose with my heart and this is the person I chose with my heart, when you're saying things like, I've never felt like this with anyone, like, what are you talking to this other person for? Like, that's all I have for you guys for this episode. Like the video if you enjoyed. Comment down below. Are you rooting for any of these freaking people? Subscribe for more content like this, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.